Hello, students. This is Mr. Fanning here. I'm going to do a screencast to introduce the Unit 2 project for the Hume 2 team. What you're looking at is the handout instructions for both English and history. There are separate documents and templates that each class will be making available to you, but this is just the overview. Today, we'll be going over Unit 2 project, Steps 1, and just beginning the assignment and being familiar with what the tasks are that you're asked to do. Now that you're nearly done with reading Animal Farm, what students are asked to accomplish is to understand the cycles that revolutions tend to follow. It doesn't mean that every revolution looks like this, but all revolutions tend to mirror other revolutions. In fact, the United States is a little exceptional in our revolution in that the nation has not necessarily turned into what it was before the revolution. We are no longer a monarchy. There are a few other nations that have successfully overthrown a monarchy and become a more democracy based or a republic. But you see, in many situations, a revolution does fail. And when these revolutions have failed, they tend to follow a similar pattern. So the overview of this project is that you will demonstrate understanding of revolutions as depicted by Animal Farm through your own independent research into a different revolution, many of them being modern day. You will also complete a revolutions comparison chart of Animal Farm in Russia. Because Animal Farm is a parallel to the Russian Revolution and the challenges and some would say failures of the Russian Revolution, we teachers want you to understand the historical context that Orwell was criticizing and satirizing, and that's a word that all students should be aware of. Satire. That means that the author is exposing human fault through a literary work or another form of artwork. You'll research a revolution and complete a chart for history comparing your assigned country to Russia. So whatever country you're given, you're going to compare another real world revolution and seeing how similar or different it is to the original Russia Soviet Union revolution. You'll then produce a storyboard that's like a comic strip or graphic novel with 30 total panels and pictures in 5 prescribed stages. And more on that later. Each stage is a relative period of time in a revolution. Okay, so overall, step 1 is becoming familiar with your group mates, all right? Because this project is 100 points in both classes, you really want to make sure that you work together and efficiently to contact each other and set group norms. All right, so first step is to put this on your copy of the document. Go ahead and put everybody's name, put their school email down, and then any other form of communication. If you guys prefer to use Snapchat, then you can put the handle on there. If you're using Instagram or what have you, or maybe you're going to create a WhatsApp, whatever. You guys need to first contact each other by school email and maybe set up a Zoom call or something like that so you can discuss and make sure that it is involving everybody in your group. I cannot stress this more. Students who do the work often complain that other group members don't pull their weight. But many times, those same students who do all the work do not effectively communicate with those group members so that the expectations are clear and a very clear timeline of your own intermediate due dates that you have to agree upon so that all students can accomplish the task. All right, so that's very important. Once you guys make initial contact, you'll want to follow up after you have looked over the project and what it entails, and figure out what a timeline for each of the stages should be so that you can cross-check each other's work and make sure that you do a good job. Okay, so that's an overview of the overall project and contact. Part 1 of the project is not worth any specific points here, but students who want to succeed ought to reflect on the learning goals and these essential questions are what will lead you to the learning goals. What factors contribute to people feeling compelled to rebel? Historically, what patterns can you identify that are present in most rebellions? What components can you identify as part of the cycle of a revolution or rebellion? What is an allegory, and what makes Animal Farm an allegory? And what elements must be present in order to characterize your story as an allegory? Now, down here for optional workspace, this is not to be turned in. My suggestion, okay, which I strongly recommend, is once you make your initial contact with your group members, perhaps you want to divide up these five and then share out with each other. Set up a time briefly where you will return and meet together or share this together, discuss. And perhaps you'll notice something about one of your group mates as they discuss one of the answers that maybe their answer isn't very accurate or in depth. That's a great opportunity for you to help them elaborate on their answer, clarify, use supporting detail, and it might give you a heads up on where they might need support in pulling their weight on the project. It is not your job to teach your peers, but it is your job to ensure the quality level. And however you go about that, whether you make your own revisions to their work and they make revisions to your work, or perhaps you give them advice and they revise it. That is why we do group projects, is because working together helps students learn more effectively. You get more feedback when you hear it from multiple voices. All right, so that's enough about part one. Another screencast will come for part two, which is due on Friday, November 13th. And you may want to check, as your teacher may be using Schoology instead of Google Classroom. Part three, your history teacher will give you in-depth instruction on that. That is going to be due Monday, November 16th. And then part four, the storyboard portion, this is the combined English and history portion. That is going to be due on at the bottom here, Monday, November 23rd. So you may want to double check with your history teacher about the way it will be collected and the process for that. You do have to turn in a character chart earlier on Wednesday, November 18th. So you want to make sure that you set deadlines along the way so that as your team is working on the characters, you have a chance to meet and talk about it and refine it so everybody's on the same page in doing the storyboard. Again, there'll be another screencast for the storyboard portion later. This is just an overview of the whole project. Bear with us a little bit as we come up with more screencasts to give you information.